Welcome back, guys, to the Bear and Scully podcast with me, Sean Scullion, aka Scully, Owen Mallon, aka The Bear, Aidan, the face for radio behind the scenes, and today we are joined with Kelly Harris. Kelly, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks very much for having me.
Kelly,
there's the intro over. That's it done. Now it's just three people sitting around a table chatting.
Well, thanks very much, Sean.
There you go.
and now over to you, Kelly.
Over to me.
Kelly, thank you very much for coming up, and we are going to get into it. But once again, this is another podcast that features around addiction. So before we get going, and I will say to any of you that are watching, we will include links and help and websites that you may find useful. You may find some of this triggering, and hopefully you find some of it helpful. And but always get that out of the road first, Kelly, because I think it's important to remind people that there is help out there and there's things you can do. But before we get on to all that there, we normally go back to the very start with our guests and find out where you grew up. And
Yep. Well, first of all, it'll be triggering for me too, so we're all in this together.
Yeah.
I'm from Newton Abbey, just outside Belfast. Grew up there my whole life. 31, I'll be 32 in May. Had a very, very good upbringing, very, very well loved family home. You know, parents still together to this day. I was grew up in a very loyalist estate with paramilitaries, but I was clueless to this. I was always hidden and sheltered from everything that was going on around. You know, I didn't spend my first 11th night here till I was 16. I was always away. My mum always had us out of that. You know, never wanted us brought up around any of that or to do with any of that or anything of the sort. So I was always very hidden and sheltered. I grew up with my granny. She was an alcoholic my whole life. Sadly now she's passed away. So I was always very, very aware of addiction. And I was one of these people that says, you know, I've seen this my whole life. That'll never be me. I will never get into those circumstances, and never say never. You know, you never know what's going to happen.
it is always nice to get a brief idea of where people are from, and people will know. But we do have obviously conversations before we come in. But you know, going back there before you got involved in your addiction, you also had a couple of turbulent relationships when you were younger.
Well, yeah, that's what actually started off the addiction, but I didn't realise that until the major issue happened. You know, it started a pattern, which then I relied on later on in life, and then got me into the trouble I was in. But so I was in an abusive relationship. Just turned 17. She was 21. I wasn't always as manly looking now, so to speak. I was a bit more girly, so she would be the manlier one. And at this time I didn't, you know, really stand up for myself or speak for myself. You know, it was just everything just went over my head. But I was locked in her flat when she went out partying all night. I lost 3 really good jobs because of her, because I wasn't allowed out of the house. Having to ring in sick to work, you know, I felt so embarrassed even ringing in to say, I'm locked in the flat, I can't get out, you know, like what do I say, and what's the employer going to think of that? So I was security in the airport, lost my job there because of her. I lost a really good apprenticeship with NI Trucks because of it as well, because I just wasn't allowed to be out by myself or around people. I was completely isolated from my family. You know, I didn't see them for most of the time I was with her. I think that lasted for a year. And around the same time...
What do you mean you were actually physically locked in?
Yeah. So like she would have been out the night before and locked the door on her way out, and it was a 3-story flat. She was a 3rd story up, so she would lock the door on her way out, told me, I'll be home to let you out for work. Never showed up. You know, I tried, there's times I tried to get out the windows and all, but there's no fire escape, so it was a 3-story drop, you're looking down the drop, and there was just no chance I was just going up. And if I did try and stand up to her, you know, and back then there was none of this narcissist, you know, that wasn't around back then, none of this awareness about narcissist or coercive control or anything like that. So I was clueless. I just thought it was I knew it was toxic, but I didn't realise how bad it was until I actually started treatment with later on down the line. That's what made me realise I'd already been through trauma before the initial trauma, and that's where I adapted the pattern of then taking tablets, because while I was in that abusive relationship with her, I have polycystic ovaries, which give you really, really painful periods. And So every time during the month, time of the month came, couldn't wait for it to come. Opioids, it was only 30 over 500 cocodamol at the time. That's what it started off on, and I could not wait for them to get delivered every month because give you that euphoric feeling and just get you a wee bit out of the state of mind you're in and not thinking about the abuse you were going through at the time. Like, I wasn't allowed to eat until she could say I was allowed to eat. When she was having to go to work, I was having to go and do her dad owned an illegal diesel yard. So when she was working, she would have brought me around with her, but she would have sat in her hole and I would have had to done the work, but I didn't get paid for it. You know, my pay was, you're getting fed today. And that was that. So that triggered the start of taking tablets to try and kill an emotional pain. But at the time, I didn't realise that. I was just taking my tablets and when it's needed. And it just spiraled from there. So I couldn't wait for them to come around every month. But the longer that went on, the less relief you were getting from the same you were taking. So then instead of taking 2 tablets every 4 hours, I was taking 4 tablets every 4 hours. Then it went to 6 tablets every 4 hours. Then it went to, you know, I got 30 a month, and the 30 was only doing me one day. 10 at a time I was taking it, 10 in the morning, 10 in the afternoon, 10 at night before I went to bed, just to try and take me away. Because I was taking so much then, it got into a case of I wasn't getting prescribed enough, so I then had to turn to the streets and start banning them off the streets just to give myself some sort of relief. But even when I was in all this, I didn't realise, you know, this was going on. In my head, I'm in pain and I need to take these. Yeah, I might be taking more than I was supposed to, but I was just doing what I was told to do, you know. So I rationalised that with that. I got out of that relationship. As I say, about a year later, it was the weekend after my 18th birthday. She knew, well, it was the first time I was getting out away from her. I hadn't been out of the house basically in a year. You know, I didn't have no friends, didn't have my family around me, nothing. So when I got free from this, I just thought, that's me. I'm going out, I'm partying, I'm enjoying myself. I'm not having to deal with this no more. I'm out of it. So the weekend after my 18th birthday, I went out, but I'd already been out the night before. So this night I wasn't drinking, I was driving, and I'd only had 1.5 drinks because I was still down from the night before. And she, lo and behold, she had followed me there. And I seen her a few times throughout the night. She'd come up to me and she says, you know, you better not dance with anybody. I'm watching you. You know, if I see you talking to anybody, they'll get it and you'll get it. Just trying to intimidate me the whole night. And it came to the end of the night and I left, picked up my car, and I was doing a loop. I was in the Kremlin. I was doing a loop around our one-way system to pick up my cousin because I seen him out and I was giving him a lift home. And I had drove past Union Street, and as I was driving past, my ex was standing at the taxi depot doors. Now there's taxi depot doors, there's a path, and then there's a road. So she was right in the doors, and I could hear her squealing and shouting and pointing at the car. And I got to the end of the road, and something in me just went, what the fuck am I still putting up with this for? And I stuck the car in reverse and went to reverse back. Now, I thought I was reversing back to get out, and me and her was going to get into a scrap here. And I was completely fine with that because I just had enough. And she was with all her mates, about a group of them, about 10 of them, and I didn't care. I did not care. I was like, if I get out here and I get my Valak bit in, I don't care. I'm standing up for myself. You know, I'm not letting her do this to me no more. And as I reversed back, I seen her move from the taxi depot doors, and as soon as I seen that, I slammed on my brakes. I didn't know anything had happened, but as soon as my car came to a stop, all her friends surrounded the car and started beating the car. So there was damage all down the side from where her friends were kicking it and all. So I just drove off because they were all attacking the car. So I just drove off and I didn't know anything had happened. But I was in a state of shock because everything that went on. Drove straight home. I woke my mum up and I says, I don't know what's just happened there, but the car's been attacked and I don't know if I've hit her or not, but I reversed back and she moved and I don't know what happened, Mum. And she went, well, you can't go back now. What are we going to do? And I said, I don't know. My dad says, Kelly, just calm down, right? If anything's happened, someone will come to the door. We'll find out about it. And I says, right, that's right. So I went to bed, get up the next morning, 11 o'clock, and the morning it was, and still nobody had come to the door. So I thought to myself, nothing's happened. You know, it's just been a case of I've reversed down, they've hit the car. I'm not going to worry about damage to the car. You know, that's nothing. You know, I got away. So, about an hour later, rap at the door, look outside, and the police are standing at the door. And I was like, colour just drained from my face. I knew at the time this was going to be something bad, because I knew what she was like. Even if something didn't happen, I was thinking to myself, she'll have done something to look like it all happened. Blah blah blah. Came out to left me for attempted murder. She went to the police, or the police had arrived on the scene. I don't know what happened that night, because I drove off. But from what I heard after, the bar staff had rang the police because of the commotion outside, and they came to the scene. And they had rang her an ambulance, but from what they could see, there was there was, you know, no physical damage. She was missing a shoe, apparently. It was in the police report. Her shoe had come off. The ambulance brought her to the hospital, and she left the hospital. And apparently she went back later on the next day with broken nose, broken teeth, broken jaw. Had to get her jaw wired shut. When we went out and checked around the car, the only thing at the back of my car that there was a footprint on the boot. No dents, no damage, a footprint. And I was driving a wee 206, and this girl was a big girl, like, and she would have maybe been about 5'10". So if I was reversing back and I hit you, I'm going to hit your abdomen, you know, if you're that tall or anything. But her footprint was on the car, and I came to the conclusion that she's jumped out to kick the car, and she's hit herself in the face. But it wasn't until I actually sat down and thought about it, and I realised, you know, her dad was involved in, wouldn't be the paramilitaries, be the IRA, and they're all into the dodgy schemes and all. Our family, I mean, not whatever they do, I don't know. But I think that she has left the hospital, got a beating, and then went back to then say I done that damage for an insurance claim. And that is what happened. Like, they came to my door to lift me for attempted murder. She said I tried to kill her. My barrister got the charges reduced to GBH with intent, dangerous driving, reversing down a one-way street, and possession of offensive weapon. Ask me what the offensive weapon was. My car.
And what was your sentence for that?
I got a suspended sentence. No, I didn't. Sorry. It wasn't a suspended sentence. I done community service for that one. It was later on another charge I got a suspended sentence for. Community service. I done 440 hours I got, but I was able to run one over the top of the other, so I ended up doing 220 hours. But I you know, I was happy enough with that. But I was happy enough. I held my hands up, obviously, because I did reverse down that street. My intention was to get out and fight with her, not to hit her with a car. But, you know, if it happened, it happened. So I obviously held my hands up to it, because I didn't mean to hit the girl, you know. It was never my intention to reverse down that street and hit somebody in my car. Yes, I was reversing down the street, and yes, I was going to get out and get into a fight. But that was it. I did not want to harm anybody in my car, and that ate me for ages. So when after that, and I was waiting to go to trial and all of that, well, not trial because I pled guilty, but waiting to go to court for that, you know, I got into partying then. Cocaine at the weekends, drinking. I was working from Monday to Saturday and then doing my community service on a Sunday. So I didn't have no days off. So I just used cocaine to stay awake in between. It's all right.
Were you still on pain medication
I
during
was
all this as well?
only taking them whenever I was prescribed them, but then again, still buying extra, you know, that way.
How much would you have been buying?
At the start, maybe, well, I would have been through 3 strips a day, like I said, so 10, 30 a day. So I would have done that for maybe 5 days straight. And I did worry every day that I was going to overdose on paracetamol. Like, that was a big concern.
You took 3,500 milligram of cocaine.
30 over 500. So 30 milligram of codeine and 500 milligram of paracetamol.
Right. And you took 30 tablets of that a day?
Yep. And that was little. Compared to what I ended up on, yeah, that was nothing.
That's 15,000 milligrams of paracetamol.
Yep.
And 150 of cocaine.
Yep. And in my head, I spaced it
Is
out.
is that not an overdose on its own?
Yeah, it should be. But because I had built on that, I didn't just start taking things. You did 30 the day at once. It went from 2 tablets every 4 hours to 4 tablets every 4 hours to 6 tablets every 4 hours. And I get up. But when I got up to that stage, I was spacing them out more. And in my head, that was okay. You know, I've less of a risk of overdosing because I'm spacing them out, taking them in the morning, taking them at tea time, then taking them early hours, you know, before I went to bed.
And then, obviously, then you're waiting in court. You're waiting for the sentencing. You're partying. You're taking drugs along with that into the mix. Of that. Did you know you had a problem at this point?
No, oblivious to it. Didn't think I had a problem because I was just banned. I was banned painkillers. I knew I was banned painkillers and knew that was wrong. But in my head, I was saying to myself, the doctor's giving me these for a reason. Yes, okay, I'm banned extra, but it's because I need more. Because they're not doing what they did for me at the start. Because as with everything, if you take something for so long, the effects get less and less and you need more and more. So that's how it ended up that way. But overdosing on paracetamol was a daily thought of mine. That's what I was thinking every day. And that's how I ended up switching to something stronger. But so it didn't have paracetamol in it. So I had less chance of overdose.
So then how did that continue? Then after you'd been sentenced for...
Well, it actually dropped off for a while. So when I get sentenced for it, that was that. Yes, I didn't mean to hit her with my car, but in my head, I seen it as a way, and this is going to break me free from her. There's no way that she can get in contact with me, or I'll be able to get in contact with her. So that's a clean break. Didn't mean to hit her in my car, yes, but at least that's me away and done. I did. If I hit her in my car, I held my hands up. I held my hands up in court because there was no CCTV or anything. So I says, you know, if that's what happened, that's what happened. You know, I'm guilty. I did reverse down that street, and it was my intention to go out and have a fight, but I didn't mean to hit her. But 4 years after that, when I got sentenced, she got back in contact with me. You know, she came back and started, oh, I'm so sorry for what I put you through. I realise now what I've done, you know, I shouldn't have done this to you. I shouldn't have done that to you. I'm so sorry. I deserved everything that happened to me. But in my head, I thought to myself, if she really thought I reversed down that street and hit her intentionally, she would never be on the phone here trying to get back in contact with me. So that, in my head, confirmated that something else has happened.
Was there a part of you that wasn't sure whether you done it or not?
Yes. 100% to this day, I'll tell you. I'm certain that it wasn't me that done that damage to her.
But there had to be an element of doubt where you're like, did I hit her or did I not?
Yeah, till she got back in contact with me, from the day it happened till she got back in contact with me, there was that doubt. Yeah. I thought something else would happen, but it was always, did I? Didn't I? I could have. Maybe I did.
Adrenaline's up, anger's in, thoughts out. You've slammed the car in reverse, you went up, and this has happened, and the commotion. It obviously was a very volatile, toxic relationship.
Yeah.
Then this has all come to a head. What was the feeling when you got a message? I take it was out of the blue. This 4 years later.
Yeah.
And it sort of calmed down. You're not as dependent, or maybe you still are.
I was dependent right up. I was still dependent and partying and using drugs in a way I shouldn't be. Right up until she messaged me, because I had so much guilt of maybe I did do that, like you were saying. There was doubt in my head if I did or I didn't. But the way I seen her behaviour, even if I did hit her with a car, I knew that she would have added more damage, you know, that way to get a bit of money, you know. So even if I did hit her, I thought she'd done more. So yes, there was that doubt, but it was a doubt of, did I hit her, didn't hit her, but it was never a doubt. I knew I could never have done that amount of damage. There would be damage to my car if I broke her nose, broke her teeth, broke her jaw, you know.
But what? It's hard to think that somebody would have went away and got a kicking just to get more money.
40 grand? I would get a kicking for 40 grand.
I know it's alright saying that, but like, to go away and say, right, to bust up my jaw or my face there so we can get a few more pounds.
Yeah.
It's a big statement. It's a big jump to make, and I'm not denying. I don't know the situation. I don't know her. I don't know you. So I'm just saying it. Just for listening, when you're saying they went away, they just went away and got a hiding.
Well, she came to the hospital. She went to the hospital from the incident because the police had been rang, and they must have rang an ambulance. So I know she went to the hospital straight after. She left the hospital and didn't go back to over 24 hours later.
And she didn't have the injuries the first time?
No.
Well, then surely they couldn't if she's been in
But she hadn't been processed. She was sitting in the waiting room. So she hadn't got no scans done. She hadn't got anything done.
So we don't know then whether she did or not.
No. But she left and came back
but
with more injuries.
What I mean is we don't know at this point to say that, and I'm just being fair to, because
No, that's
we
okay.
don't know.
That's okay.
We don't know that she didn't have them injuries.
No.
She could have very well had them injuries and she's run away and come back.
Yeah.
But I'm not doubting what people are willing to do.
No.
So you could be 100% absolutely correct. And 40 grand. Actually, you know what? I've taken kickings for nothing. So
Exactly.
I've taken kickings for being a smart ass, so I might as well take them for money. But I just want to get an idea of the scene. So then she's got back in contact with you.
Yep.
And you went, wait a fucking minute. I knew I didn't do all that you've said.
Yep.
Firstly, did you engage in conversation? Did you meet
I
her?
I did engage in conversation because I wanted, even though I had doubts that I'd done that damage, at the end of the day, I still didn't want her and I didn't have, any feelings or, all that was long gone. But if I had hit her with a car, I wanted to apologise for that because that's not the type of person I am, I wouldn't intentionally reverse down the street to hit somebody with a car, that way. So if I did do that, I wanted to say sorry for what I had done.
And then when you realised I didn't fucking do that, and she's obviously apologised, at this point, had she received a compensation for it?
No.
And what?
She knew she was waiting on it.
And do you know how much she got?
40 grand.
So it was 40 grand?
Yeah. Fuck. 40 grand. She had gotten back in contact with me, give me all the sorries, all the sob stories of the day. Oh, it'll be different.
Do
you
want
want
to
to
say
try and gain? And I did. I fell for it. I did. I says, right, okay. But then she knew that the money was coming in. She thought I was going to stick around because of the money. And I had went out with my friend one day. It was a fella. And I have been gay from, if I could walk. I was born gay, I'll tell you that now. And I had went out with my friend that was a fella to do, I can't even remember what it was, but it was only out for an hour and I came back. And as soon as I walked in the door, she hit me a big dig to the face. What are you doing leaving the house? You shouldn't have been left here.
so
all that sort of things.
You had moved back with her then?
Not moved in with her, but I was in her house with her and left to go do something with my friend and came back because it wasn't nighttime, it was during the day, and had come back then to then do whatever me and her was going to do that day, and I wasn't allowed to be away without her, so I got a dig to the face, and that was the last time I seen her. She thought I was going to stick around because she was getting the money, but
which is weird to me, and I have to say that the perpetrator and the victim are going to get together and spend the compensation. I'm sure this probably happens, and thing. It just seems that she's obviously claimed of you as in your insurance,
yeah.
And also I need to say, Kelly, to be clear and fair on this, if you've struck this woman with a car and she sustained the injuries from that, she's more entitled.
I know
to a personal injury, and
100%.
And I'm just saying that we've made this and very much a suspect of about this has been about a personal injury claim. I'm just saying if she's been struck with a car and she had injuries that have been sustained from this, and she is entitled as everyone is.
No, 100%.
But it's a very weird scenario then that when the money's coming down, she's contacting you and like the perpetrator and the but it just obviously the physical violence was in the relationship, and then this was the straw. So then you just cut ties. That was you were done.
Yeah.
Was there an element of closure then from that?
There was. That was all closure I needed. And then, I still went out with my friends at the weekend. I would have done cocaine recreationally, but it was nowhere near like I was doing because I was punishing myself. Because like I said, like you said there about if I did hit her, she was 100% entitled to that, yeah. And that's why it ate me alive, in case I did do that damage to somebody, And that's what kept me in that state for so long. But then when she got back in contact with me, it rang bells in my head, and I sort of let that go. I was able to let that go.
Knowing what you know now, would you have pleaded guilty till that, or would you have fought it?
I still would have pled guilty because, yes, I do. I 100%. My theory is I reversed down because I was watching her in that wing. I was watching her in the rear view mirror the whole time. Like I said, there's a taxi depot door. Then we're talking the length of this table for a path, then the road. I was watching her the whole time, and as soon as she moved from that door, I hit my brakes. And like I said, there was no damage to the back of my car, bar one footprint. Wasn't dented, wasn't nothing. It was just my car had been dirty, and the footprint had came up in the car. So I thought she's jumped out acting a big girl to kick the car. I haven't came to a stop. My foot's hit her, or my car's hit her foot, and she's kneed herself in the face, and that's how she's got it. So I went along with that. That's what I thought happened for so long. And if that, like, that could have happened, but there's no way I would think it would do the amount of damage that it had done.
So then all that there, you've got your closure, you've moved on, and you're out partying, you're still taking recreational drugs, but are you still then beating yourself? Are you still taking the cocodamol as much or not?
Not as much, but I'm still taking them when prescribed.
You polycystic ovaries, and so you're obviously still in pain.
Yeah.
So you still are seeing a doctor or a gynecologist or someone to do with that.
Yeah.
So you're obviously still in pain, but you're now not taking them other than what you really need them. Is that right?
But even when I got to that point that I was taking that many, it wasn't taking away my pain because it was giving me a hit. It wasn't taking away my pain. The paracetamol would have took my pain away faster than the codeine because my body was getting dependent on it, so it wasn't used as a painkiller. But I didn't know. I didn't know my body was getting dependent on it. Yeah, I would have been a bit moody for a few days when it ran out waiting on the next month, but that was it.
How many years was your prescription rerunning for that?
From I was 17 right up until I went into Hollywell in 2021.
Well, what age were you at when you were admitted to Hollywell?
2 years ago, so
you
29.
So from your 17 to 12 years?
Yeah.
So at any point, is there a recall when you're taking an opioid? Is there a point where your doctor's supposed to take you back in and ask you, is there alternative things? Is there stuff we can do? Because opioid addiction is obviously well documented now and a very clear thing. Does the doctor is that an auto renewing your substance?
Yeah. And what we talked about wasn't the main addiction issue that I'm going to talk about, but an injury happened that sustained around that, and all I done was give me more. So instead of giving me 30, they give me my 30 for my polycystic ovaries, then they give me a month worth, so a box for my other pain.
And what happened? How did this? So that's okay. So right, we've come away from all that there, and you've cut back on your use of the cocodamol, and all's good. And all's going well, and then what had happened?
Well, like I say, with that happening with her, anything, but from it happened till the ex got back in contact, I couldn't hold down a relationship. Trust, not everything was out the window. Anything that, even friends, anything good to try to happen to me, it got blocked out. A wall went up, and it didn't come down till she till she got back in contact, and that was dealt with. So that was okay. Me and my current partner, Megan, met in 2016 at the start of it. And we went out on her birthday, 10th of September in 2016. And we'd been out and she wanted to leave. She was we'd all had a bit of a drink, She wanted to leave and she just left. But I didn't realise. And then I realised she was away. I went outside the club to ring her to see where she was. And our mate had only lived 2 miles down the road and he was meant to be picking us up. So she had started making her way to his house and I had rang her and I says, "Where are you?" And she says, "Oh, I'm just walking down the back of your kid here. I'm going to go on to Gary's." And I says, "Megan, you're not walking down there by yourself. Turn around and I'll meet you halfway on the way back and I'll walk down with you. I'll ring Gary and get him to pick us up on the way down." And as soon as she says, "Right, okay." And as soon as she says, "Right, okay," all I heard was a fella shouting, "Blowjob." And then Megan just started squealing. I mean, I've never heard squeals like this before, and still to this day, I would hear that.
You're on the phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm on the phone. She had told me her location, and the fella. All I heard was blowjob. Then I just heard her start squealing. So obviously I don't know what's going on. I just knew she was in distress with the squeals. Stuck the phone in my pocket. Didn't even hang up. I had it on loudspeaker, stuck my phone in my pocket because I could sort of hear the squealing in the distance, not on the phone.
She wasn't far away from where
She was half a mile away.
Okay.
She was half a mile away, but she was squealing that loud. You could hear squeals in the distance, but I knew her location, so phone went in the pocket and I just ran as fast as I can't run to save my life. I don't even know how I got there, but I got there. And when I got there, she was in and out of consciousness on the floor. A fella had beat her and he was trying to rape her. He was pulling her off the main road, trying to get her out of sight to do what he could do. She had full handprint bruises around the bottom of both her legs where he'd been dragging her. Her clothes were ripped down. She was wearing like a bodysuit or a play suit, one of them like baby grows, the button underneath. And it was ripped all up the side, and her leather skirt had ripped as well. And you see me, it was all caught on CCTV, like. And so I run, and I'm running down the street. And as I'm running down the street, I'm looking behind me, because I'm running down the street, and I'm looking, and all I can see is people peering out round their fences, watching all this going on.
So had anyone gone to her aid before you got there?
No.
So you were the first person on the scene?
Yeah. There was people watching. They were standing outside their gate, cracked open, watching it going on. Nobody helped. Nobody did nothing. But he acted like it was a domestic, because even when I got on the scene, he obviously didn't know she was on the phone with me. He didn't know that I was anything to do with her. And he was like, she's my girl. We're just having a fight. Fuck away off or whatever. And I was like, hang on a second, it's my fucking girl. I said, your girl? And then he's like, fuck off, you yellow bastards. Where are you from anyway? Because she had been walking in a Catholic area, and it's right beside a Protestant area where the rat loads. And so he had come and attacked her, thinking she was Catholic, and to try and get what he wanted off her.
And what did you do then when you arrived on the scene?
I arrived on the scene. You see, all caught in CCTV. There's a big police CCTV pole camera down exactly where it happened, and it was all caught on. You see him following behind her, sneakily following behind her, and then attacking her. And you can see her holding the phone up to her ear, talking to me. You see them and fighting. Then you see me coming on the scene, and he lifts his head because he sees the noise, and I just hit him the hardest, biggest punch that I can to the face, and he landed on his back, and he jumps up. And by this stage, I'm trying to pull. She's still in and out of consciousness, so I'm trying to pull her from the road into a garden to get a bit of safety, because in that area there's big massive fences. I mean, they're like 2 houses high. That's how high the fences are, because it's a big area where they're at. So I got her into a garden, and he's still lunging and coming, and I got her into a garden, me and him get into a fight out in the street. He then turns and runs away, because he obviously seen that I wasn't going to give up. And I didn't care how hurt I got. I was defending her, So he runs away. I then go into Megan's in the house by the stage with a girl and her daughter, and the husband was there too, and they were helping, and they rang the police and they rang the ambulance while I was out fighting with them. But he ran away, and the daughter must have come out and looked up the street, and there was a crowd of people coming down to see what was going on. They panicked. Here come the orange men. Here come the orange men. Get them out, talking about us. So we're out on the street again, and when he seen us come back out on the street, he turned to come back. 2 paddy wagons came driving down, and I started waving them down on the road, and he was going, they're all right, waving them on. And they drove on. The police a car pulls up not long after that, and Megan was that bad and out of consciousness. The police said they couldn't wait in an ambulance, put us both into the back of the police car and brought us to the hospital.
Jesus. And what injuries did Megan sustain and all that?
Megan, they thought she had a fractured skull, but thankfully she didn't. She had bruises and handprints all over her body from her head to her toes, but she's got bulging prolapsed discs in her back now from it, because he was they thought he had a fractured skull because he was slamming her head. You see in the CCTV, he's got her head in her hand, slamming it off the brick wall to try and get her out of consciousness to then pull her. So she's bulging prolapse discs in her back now from it, her lower back, and she's developed sacroiliac joint dysfunction in her hips as well. I don't know how the injuries has persisted, but it's probably when he's been trying to force her legs open.
And tell me, the police, so this guy obviously run away at this stage, but did the police arrest him at that time?
Yeah, because I knew his face.
You knew who he was?
I knew his name. I knew his face and I knew his name. He was pretty well known in the area for being a bad boy, you know, one of them ones. So I had knew who he was. I was able to tell the police his name, and the police went and lifted him. They came to our house, came to Megan's house, the next day to take pictures of all their injuries and stuff. And the policeman had told us, when we asked, did you get him? Yeah, we got him. Have you interviewed him yet? Yeah, we interviewed him. Had to cut the interview short. I says, why? And he says, because his interview just consisted of, he was lying back in the chair like, I don't know, mate. Oh, fuck, I couldn't tell you where I was. Oh, mate, I don't fucking know. Just get me out of this room. Just didn't have a care in the world. Didn't have a care in the world. And it was actually his mum that pushed and pushed and pushed for him to get prosecuted for it.
His mother pushed for him to be prosecuted?
Yep. Because she said, if that's what he's able to do in his own area, what would he do elsewhere?
But there's CCTV footage of all this?
Yeah.
So it's his account really matters fuck all if you can see what's happened.
Yeah.
But I want to go back just before we get into that there. Nobody done nothing?
Nobody done nothing. All watching.
I cannot.
Thought it was domestic, so didn't want to intervene.
Well. So then the police have charged this guy?
Yeah.
They what did they charge him with?
Basically nothing. Because he wasn't able to, because I got to the scene so fast and got him off her before he was able to get any further than he did. He couldn't even get charged for attempted rape. He got charged for assault.
Well, what do you mean he can't get charged with attempted rape just because he's been stopped?
Because he got stopped before the chance of getting her knickers off, or so far, you know, it only escalated to the part where he had beat her, he got her unconscious, and he was getting her out of the way.
Right.
So I had intervened before he got any further, so they couldn't prove that's what he wanted to do, but it was clear. He shared a blowjob before he started beating her.
Fucking, this country sometimes angers me and beggars belief at the judicial system and how it happens. It can't always be their fault either, and I know there's thresholds with things and thing, but you just, sometimes you gotta ask yourself, you know, there's CCTV, a woman's being assaulted at night, you know, her clothes is being ripped. The motive for the end goal becomes more obvious of what it is. You know, would you been better waiting a bit till he started
watch her be sexually assaulted before he stopped?
Till they intervened so that the charge could be worse.
Yeah.
Me and Sean have often spoken this about the frustration that, especially in sexual assaults and abuse and the way this country looks and views that, but we can't always blame that. How were the police when you dealt with them? Were they proactive?
The police were great.
They wanted to go after him, because this is what we find a lot, and some people take the frustration with the police, and we find here a lot of people say, look, it's them fucking trying their best to get these people done. It's the fucking system that's closing it off from what they can. Their hands are tied. So the
policeman walked into her house the next morning, and the first thing he done was shook my hand, told me well done.
Because then,
and he tried to have a joke to lighten the situation, to say, oh girl, I wouldn't want to see you in a dark alley anyway, you know, try and lighten the situation about. But the police were really good. They'd done everything they possibly could, you know.
At that point they probably viewed the CCTV.
Yeah, they'd seen everything.
I don't know why my brain's working this way to try to get somebody convicted for something that they've actually done, but did he actually say that he attacked Megan because she was Catholic or anything?
No.
Well,
that night, the way he was speaking and the way he was getting on, it was portrayed. That was the reason he done it. That he was Catholic, but he didn't. He didn't speak to the police.
Yeah.
It was. I don't know.
Because
Didn't answer
in
him.
my head, that's a different thing because that's a sectarian hate crime.
Yeah. Well,
And like,
that's
that is chargeable.
That's no, they did. They brought him for a sectarian hate crime.
That's what he was charged
One
on
of the
then?
charges.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Right. And it even fucking gets weirder. I don't think he would give a fuck.
No, he wouldn't care.
At
No.
that point, he didn't care what Megan was or who or believed. But that, I take it you're down the Shore Road area. You're at a flashpoint there, and there's a lot of
North Queen Street.
Okay, so we're at a point where there is a flashpoint and there's peace walls and there's divides and there's always ongoing trouble, and this is just like a different side effect into it, but it doesn't take away from there's a young girl on the ground being beat. So what happened then when this went to court?
So we went to court.
What was the charges that he had been charged with that you were now in court with?
DBH, sectarian hate crime, and that was it.
Right, okay.
So we went to court. He didn't even have to stand trial. He done a fit to plea trial to say whether it. So it's I didn't understand it either. So weird. The police's words to me were he played on his mental health and his learning difficulties. He done an IQ test and his IQ was below 60 and he was playing on his mental health. So he didn't actually have to stand trial. We just had to go, and there was the jury, and it was a case of whether he done it or whether he didn't. So he didn't have to plead guilty or not guilty. It was up to the jury to decide whether he was guilty or not guilty. Well, regardless of his plea, he couldn't give a plea.
Okay.
He wasn't fit to give a plea.
That affects the sentence then?
Yep.
Because he can't just cop the plea and then
Yep.
go. So that obviously then what was your mindset, because you knew this was going to be played down because this is already getting reduced?
Well, I was already getting in, knowing I was going to be disappointed, but I didn't know what was going to happen when I got there. I was shocked.
Were you asked to take the stand?
I was asked to take a stand.
And what was their line of defence then?
That I was the one committing battery and assault.
I knew this was going to go this way. And did the judge allow that?
No. No.
So what did they say then?
The judge didn't want me to answer, but as soon as they had said, Miss Harris, isn't that true that when you arrive in the scene that you're the only one committing battery and assault in the CCTV? And I had immediately just come out with fight or flight. What do you want me to do? Stand and let him? And the judge agreed. The judge says, Kelly, get off this. I've got a wee tissue here. The judge says, Kelly, get down off the stand. No, that's not happening. This young lady done what she needed to do to protect herself and her partner.
The court has watched the CCTV.
Yeah. The jurors were crying.
So
all of them.
he was found guilty.
Yeah.
And what was then his sentence?
Treatment.
He didn't get in prison.
No. He
Ah,
got treatment.
So you can attempt to rape a woman, beat her, trail her off the street, and you don't see a fucking day inside for it.
No. He got 3 years supervision.
What does that actually mean?
That he has to, once a week, he has to speak to, like, he doesn't actually have probation, but he has to check in with a probation officer once a week. He has to check in with, like, a mental health professional, so a doctor, a psychiatrist, or, like, a therapist. I think it was once every 2 weeks. That was it.
So this is the way this world fucking works now. This is obviously massively traumatic. It's a very traumatic situation for you, very traumatic for Megan. She's been attacked, and sometimes it's harder for you being the secondary victim because she's the victim, and we automatically know she's the victim of that crime. And this is we people will run to help, and people will. And the funniest thing about this is, and I'm not being funny, fucking term to use. He's going to receive help.
Yeah.
Twice a week.
Yeah.
For the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Did you get any offer of help?
No. Megan got offer. I didn't see myself as a victim. You know, and then I ended up with PTSD because of that incident, but I beat myself up for so long for feeling the way I did because it didn't happen to me. Why am I the one feeling this way? It should be her, you know. She was the one that beat. She was the one that was nearly raped. It was her all this happened to. I have no right to feel the way I do.
No, just take a wee second. And I just want to say this. You were very much the victim of what had happened to you. There's no doubt in my mind that this is, no matter in what scenario you come into that, when someone perpetrates a crime, especially one of physical violence, they're the one that engineers everything. They're the one that creates all this. The victims are the people that get the fallout from it. You, your partner. So,
But even in that, you've just watched your loved one getting hurt and battered and injured. You have every reason to feel exactly how you felt because you seen that all unfolding in front of you, and like you were there to protect her, and you protect her from that awful person. So like, say saying that you shouldn't be feeling that way, 100% you should be feeling that way. You have the right to feel that way.
I know you say that, but it was so fucked up in my head, as in a way of, I didn't realise I'd already been through trauma with the abusive relationship until I got into treatment for the PTSD that I have now. And it's only then I learnt that I'd already been through stuff, and that's what messed me up more, because I was saying to myself, but I've already been through all this trauma and it didn't affect me. I watched Megan go through this trauma and now I've got PTSD from it. But I didn't know, I didn't know much about mental health. I didn't know you could get PTSD from secondary, even you can get PTSD even from me telling you that story. People can get PTSD and I wasn't aware of that, so, and it takes a while for them symptoms to actually build up and start. So it wasn't until he was in court on the 6th of December 2017. So it happened September 2016. He was in court by December 2017 because he had to do all these, see a doctor, see if he was fit to play and all this. So it got dragged out a wee bit. Then I'm on the stand and I'm being made out to be the perpetrator as well. So I had all this going through my head. Then I was feeling like I'm not supposed to be feeling any sort of way. I need to be strong for her. If I break down while she's like this, who's going to be standing for us? So I was trying to keep on a brave face. And it wasn't until 2018 that my PTSD symptoms started. And it triggered that pattern that I'd already went through of taking tablets for my emotional pain.
So before you got triggered, I just want to go back a wee bit. Megan obviously suffered physical injuries,
Yeah.
and was in a lot of pain with her back. She was prescribed heavy medication.
Yeah. She was prescribed Oxycontin first, which would be one of the top painkillers. Then she went on to be prescribed fentanyl patches, which is the strongest painkiller opioid you can get.
And
they even go to as far as say that fentanyl and fentanyl patches, now you can get, America's all about this fentanyl powder, but it's not pharmaceutical, it's all synthetic that they make in their kitchen, that's another thing. I excused my addiction by saying, I'm not buying drugs off the street, I'm getting them from a pharmacy. I know what I'm taking. But they say that fentanyl and Oxycontin is actually stronger than heroin because it is a pharmaceutical drug. You know what you're getting every single time.
And she was on, obviously that wouldn't have been a long-term pain plan, but Megan then became addicted to...
Dependent. She became dependent on them, where I abused them.
So I sound stupid here. When someone says they become dependent and someone says they abused them, what's the difference in that?
I didn't need to take them. I was taking them for an emotional pain. You don't take painkillers for an emotional pain. She was taking them for her injuries. that she sustained during the attack. So because it was such a strong painkiller she was having to take after so long, 21 days, you do something for 21 days in a row, that's a habit formed. So her body then became dependent on her pain medication. So say she forgot to pick up her prescription or lost it or anything of the sorts, she would get so sick. You know, I was the same way, but I was abusing them. So I was taking them for an emotional, mental pain.
Were you taking some of hers?
I was stealing hers.
Right. Shit. And how did that all... Was Megan aware of this at the time?
No, not start. And then she was, you know, well, obviously because she was getting sick because I was stealing her painkillers, you know. So she caught on, obviously, because they were going missing. But then again, I didn't want to bother her with any troubles I was going through because look what she was going through.
Look what you were both going through, but you seem sometimes traumatic things like that leave you in a very lonely place where the two of you experienced it, but you're at a different end of the barrel, and it sometimes leaves people very isolated.
Yep.
And lonely.
Yep.
Because there you're trying to be the don't know, the more dominant or the stronger person.
Yeah.
She, you know, and we've seen this time and time again, people saying that they're trying to be there and they try to be, and it becomes too much in itself to do that.
Yeah.
To try and look out, but so Megan was on her pain meds, and then you'd started taking them, and had you started back with the cocodamol, or you started buying back more stuff?
Oh yeah, I was buying cocodamol. I did start buying cocodamol before I started taking Megan's prescription, going on to something stronger. But like I said, because I had already been through that habit of taking them, they weren't doing anything for me. So then I had to find something stronger. Still opioids, still prescription, but stronger. So I went for the next thing up from cocodamol would be DHC, which is dihydrocodeine, which would be just the codeine, no paracetamol, and you can get stronger form of that. So instead of 30 milligram of cocodamol or codeine, you can go 60 or 90 or whatever. You get 60 milligram tablets and take whatever amount. So I was buying them first, and then I went on to buying oxys.
They can be bought over the counter.
No, buying people's prescriptions. The amount of people that sell their prescriptions in this country is unbelievable. And
so would it progress from going to the chemist and buying cocodamol to buying somebody's actual...
Well, you can't buy 30 over 500s in the chemist either.
All right.
They're only prescription. They're like prescription based only too. So I was buying people's script off them. The amount of people that I know, their name, their address, the date of birth, because I was going to pick up their script. I had a schedule. I knew I had to go to this person on a Monday, and that would have done me to Wednesday. Then Wednesday had a collection from somebody somewhere else, and that maybe would have done me only a day. Then I would have had, you know, it was crazy. I had a time schedule of how and when I was going to get this medication I needed, because, like, first of all, it was to try and kill an emotional pain. But with everything, you don't get the desired effect. So in the end, I wasn't numbing anything. It wasn't killing anything for me. It wasn't helping me at all. All it was doing was taking away a sickness. Because when your body gets so dependent on that, the physical withdrawals you get are crazy. Like, cannot get out of your bed, sitting on the toilet with a bucket on your knee, running out of both ends, agony all over you, bile coming out of both ends. I mean, you would be like that.
Withdraw on a cold turkey or coming down from...
Yeah, just if you don't have any.
So how long did this whole cycle continue for? So it seems to be, you know, you started back into the same routine.
Yep.
Started taking the cocodamol, then you needed obviously the heavier ones.
Yeah.
So and buying people's prescriptions. So
yep.
How long did that keep? Like I'm assuming at some point this come to a head.
Oh yeah, it did. Yeah, came to head. Well, I would say. So when the PTSD started 2018, that's when I started abusing it bad again. It wasn't cocodamol. I'd already been taking cocodamol before that when the symptoms were starting, but it came to a head like late 2018, the PTSD. I did go to try and get help. It was my mum tried to get me help, but I wasn't honest that I was taking drugs, so it wasn't doing me no good. You know, I was so ashamed as well. I thought, and I was blaming myself. You know, for that happened to her, I blame myself for that because she shouldn't have been by herself.
Are you more functional with the likes of these oxy drugs?
Yeah, like people think you take these drugs and you're like a zombie. You're not. See, the first time I took an oxy, I thought I could clean my house, my ma's house, my granny's house, the whole street's house, run the Cave Hill, which is up our, like, you feel invincible. Like nothing and no one can beat you. And I hate telling people how it makes you feel because see if someone sat there and told me that, the first thing I'd do is, fuck, I want to try that. You know what I mean?
The only thing is you're saying that, so tramadol, there's
Can't take tramadol. I don't. Tramadol is an opioid as well.
so
yeah.
so we could say that would be on par of the same sort of effects,
Not of Oxycontin, no.
not of oxy, but it would have something in that to make you slight feeling like that.
Yeah,
no?
any opioids makes you feel the same, but
Be-
just if you go into the different drug types, the stronger you get, the more of a hit you get, or the stronger the feeling, the euphoric feeling it is. You know,
Because I had lower back pain and I took tramadol for 3 days and I had to stop it straight away.
yeah, because I bet you on the fourth day
made me
you needed
feel-
it and wanted
No,
it.
not at all. It made me feel opposite. It made me feel like I was drunk. It made me feel like it wasn't a feeling I enjoyed.
Aye.
It was the complete opposite. Within 3 days of taking it, I was like, I'm not taking them anymore. And that's okay. You could turn around and say, well, then my pain wasn't, you're
Aye.
taking that for a pain. So maybe somebody would stay on it for longer if their pain was more. But I'm just trying to get my head round how do you get, how
No,
does the
see, like,
addiction...
even though I was dependent on opioids and opiates, I couldn't have took tramadol because tramadol didn't agree with me either. Tramadol made me so moody. You couldn't speak to me. I would have ripped anyone's head off if they had said boo to me. You know, and it made me feel like that. But when I was getting into taking the Oxycontin and then onto the fentanyl patches, I'd already been doing the cocodamol, so I wasn't getting like the effect you were. All I was getting was the euphoric lift, and it was taking away a sickness I didn't know was there.
Yeah.
And then obviously I realised when it got worse.
So when did it come that you had to reach out for help? I know you'd want to reach out then, but when did it actually get to the point where you were like, right, it's something else, so this road's not, I can't continue in this road?
Get into more trouble. Was with a group of people and nobody could get anything from anywhere. It was like at the end of COVID, so nobody had anything, and I think there was me and 5 other people, and they had a way of getting stuff, and he asked me to use my phone, and I says, yeah, no bother. So, and this is in a way of committing crimes and all. I rationalised it in my head as, yes, I might have been with a group of people who were doing it, but if I didn't directly do it, then that's okay. I'm just with them. I didn't do that. And it's the same way as prescription painkillers. I kept on that for so long because in my head I was telling myself, I'm not buying drugs off the street, heroin or this or that. So it's okay. It's coming from a pharmacy. I know exactly what I'm taking. But so we couldn't get anything, and someone had a great idea. I'm saying that was a great idea. Asked to borrow my phone. Yeah, no problem. There you go. They rang up Dalriada. They give in some wee old woman's name, date of birth, address. They must have known her. They must have known her, know all this, but I didn't know who she was. And they pretended to be her, the Dalriada. They get an extra script, and then went down, picked up the script, and we all shared it. Lo and behold, a couple of days later, the door raps, and it's the police, because my name was obviously associated with my phone number. So they came in and lifted me for that. Fraud by false representation. I got convicted for it. I was guilty by association, so I didn't see the point of bringing anybody else down with me. I wasn't going to tout and give myself a harder time out in the streets, with being a tout or this or that. So I was part of it. I held my hands up and I took the blame. I got a suspended sentence for that.
And was that a one-time offence, though?
Yeah.
Just
Well,
one time?
It had happened before, but that was the one time that I was involved.
Look, we're in the murky waters of the. You say it's the one time, but if you're buying other people's scripts and we're doing our things there, and if we're being frank and honest, it's not guilty by association. You were involved in that. You proceeded from that. You took from that. You were guilty of that.
Yeah.
It's weird because normally the fucking cops and things like that, they never catch on to this. So it people sometimes think, oh, that was a mistake.
It's because this drug, the fentanyl patches are because they're so strong, there's hardly anybody that's on them. See, to try and find them out in the street to buy off people, it's crazy. Like, I was traveling to different ends of the country every other day just to get something, but it's monitored so much. So then when her doctors had checked the computer on the Monday morning, seen she had rang up, or we'd rang up to get a script, rang her to see why, and she says obviously it wasn't her. So then rang the police. Police checked the phone number. Phone number came back to me. I did, but I held my hands up, didn't fight it.
Aye, but look, listen, that's because you're fucking banged the rights.
I know.
You rang and you took it and you got caught. But
Yeah.
sometimes getting caught's the best thing that happens. We find that with a lot of ones. And we've spoke with ones and different things that it's the last thing and you're like, right, I need to change this, because it's a common, well, tell me this here, just while I'm asking you, this out of curiosity. How much are these drugs selling for?
Now, you're not going to believe this. So, the Oxycontin, they start at 5 milligram and they go right up to 120 milligram tablets, right? If you're buying a strip of 5 milligram, comes 14 tablets in a strip. You can buy that one strip anywhere between 30 quid to 60 quid. But when you get up to the 80 milligram tablets, you're paying 30 to 40 pound for one tablet.
Jeez. 30 and a strip of 14.
They're only 5 milligram, so you can get them for between 30 and 60. It depends who you're getting them off. The 80 milligram ones, 40 quid.
Well, fucking no wonder they're look, we know now, and we only know now, the opioid crisis, this America, and we've become aware of the lawsuits, the class actions, and they've held their hands up, and they knew at the time that these opioids were more addictive, something like 100 times more addictive than heroin.
Yeah.
That opioids and the Oxycontin, and it ravaged America for years. The police force was ruined because they used to, the first thing they would do if any of their police service was injured was the first thing they prescribed was these, and then it became a massive problem. When did you know then you got caught?
Yep.
You've already had a previous, you're on strike 2 here at this point.
Yeah.
And you know the next one you're going to see the inside of something.
Well, it was either the inside of jail or the inside of a box.
Aye, because you're not playing with cocodamol anymore.
No.
And I say that flippantly when I don't mean that flippantly, because you weren't playing with them either. That's dangerous. But what I mean is the ante, as we know, the ante always goes up.
Yeah.
So you're now going after bigger, stronger drugs. What happened then that you decided to reach out for help?
Like I said, I just got to the point where I knew it was going to be a jail or a box. So I broke down. I'd been before I actually reached out and told my mum, I was hiding all these things from everyone around me. Like, I was running drugs for people. I was being a taxi driver for drug dealers, but I always done it outside my own area, so nobody knew me because I'm very distinctive. So if I was in my own area, people were going to know. So I had to do it outside my own area, not in Belfast, not in Newton Abbey. I was drug running. I was picking up the drug dealers to go and get their big supply to then bring back, doing crazy stuff. But
you're not, I mean this in the most politest way.
Yeah.
You're not the most covert person I would pick to be taking me to be under the radar. You've got a big neck tattoo.
I know.
You have a tattoo, your hair short, you have one down you have a tattoo down your side of your head. I would recognise you Straight away in the crowd again.
Yeah, you would, or I know. If you think about that, I thought that myself. Like, we weren't very bright, were we? But then I always said to him, sure, if Peter stopped me, I'd say, you discriminating against me because I'm gay. Get them off the case. No, but like I said, yeah, I always rationalise things. So, like, I never stole off my mum, my dad, my brother, my family, nothing. You know, I never stole off people that didn't steal off me. So when people started stealing up, like, say I was going to buy something that I couldn't get myself, going to buy some Oxycontin and I couldn't get them, I would have had to text somebody I know to see if they could get them. And if they were getting it bad, they'd be like, and had no money, they'd be like, oh yeah, I can get you them. I can get you, say, 5 tablets for whatever amount. Come round, I'll get the money, go grab them and I'll come back. Right, no bar, because you're fucking, at this stage, you're crawling the walls, you know, you can't even sit still. You're like, yeah, no bar, go down a meeting, give them the money, and you're sitting there for the hours and they don't come back. So then I'm like, right. So then when they text me asking me, oh, can you get me such and such? Because they knew my character as well, but that I was rationalised so much in my head, they thought I wouldn't have done it back to them. Which, I wouldn't. You know, that's the God's honest truth, I wouldn't. But they're going to do that to me, I'll do it 10 times worse to you.
See, in that though, Kelly, like, where does the money come to fund it? If we're saying it's £30 a tablet.
I'm lucky in a way that, not lucky, but my parents support me very well and they still do, you know, so I didn't need to steal. All I needed to do was ask. They didn't know what it was for, but all I needed to do was ask. You know, Mum, I ran out of money, can I have such and such for this, or Dad, I run out of money, can I have such and such for this, or I need to get this for the house, or I need to get that, you know, anything. And because my mum and dad are so nice and they have never took drugs ever, so, and because they knew I grew up with my granny and addiction and had always been like, oh no, I'd never be like that, you know.
Well,
she didn't think it was going in anything else but what I was saying it was going for, but I was lying, you know, lying to get what I needed.
Was Megan aware of this
Yeah,
at the time?
she was.
And what was she saying to you at the time?
Do you know what? She was not bad of a state herself. She was worrying about herself, and I don't blame her. Because by this stage, I had already been stealing her prescriptions, and she had been dependent on it. So I'd stole hers. She was going to need to take something of what I got, legitimately for her pain. And it just so happened she became dependent on her medication. That's what I mean by that. She got prescribed hers for a reason. I didn't. I took them to abuse them.
And then you eventually then you did reach out.
Yes, I told my mum. I told my mum first. I thought because of my mum, my granny was an alcoholic the whole of my mum's life. And I thought, that's why I was so scared to tell her. Because I thought, she's going to scream, yell, shout, that's me, you know, she'll kill me. I legitimately thought she will strangle me and kill me. And she didn't. I told her, and the first thing she done was burst into tears and hug me and says, thank you for being honest with me. I'll do everything I can to get you help.
If there's one thing that we've always found that if anybody's ever said to us is speak to the loved one.
Yeah.
Tell somebody.
Tell somebody, because it'll eat you alive. Mm-hmm. Take it from me. I've been there and it eats you alive.
Well, when you told your mum then, she reached out to try and get you in somewhere?
Yeah. We rang my doctors the next day. By this stage, if I was taking Oxycontin, say the 80 milligram ones, strip of 14, if I was taking them at this stage, I would need 2 to 3 strips a day just to take my sickness away. If it was the fentanyl patches, I would have needed 4 75 microgram ones a day, which would kill anybody instantly. But it got that bad. That amount was just taking away my sickness so I could function.
Just for stupid people like me, when you say that just to take away the illness, you couldn't stop.
No. I wanted to stop. I was crying. I was squealing. I didn't want to be doing this.
What is the process of stopping fentanyl strips and the Oxycontin? You know, what is actually the medical process? There is like a cleaning out process.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what happened first, right? So I told my mum. I was at night time. The next day, my mum rang the doctors straight away. She told the doctors, and the doctor says, we'll get our emergency referral for the addiction team. And that was okay. And Mum says, right, okay, so what do we do in the meantime? And the doctor says, Kelly's just need to go and keep doing what she's doing and take what she's taking. And my mum was like, what? I'm ringing you, crying my eyes out, begging for help for my daughter. And you're telling me just to tell her to keep doing what she's doing and go out and buy what she's buying. And the doctor says, Miss Horse, I'm so sorry. And I know this is so distressing to hear. But if your daughter stops doing what she's doing, she could drop dead. You can't stop that like that cold turkey. Not out by yourself. You have to do it in a controlled environment with professionals because it is that dangerous. Alcohol and opioid withdrawals are the two things of addiction that can kill you if you stop. Cold turkey.
So
the doctors were telling me to go and keep doing what I was doing just to get me by, to get the help that I needed.
But for your mum to hear that, that's bound to be awfully shocking.
Yeah.
That a doctor's saying,
Destroyed
keep
her.
doing what you're doing. But it was the right advice.
Yeah.
It was the right advice until you got medical advice.
Yeah.
It was the right medical advice until you got the emergency help that you needed.
Yeah.
So then, how long did you have to wait until you got the help then?
I was lucky. I got that was on the Tuesday. My mum rang the doctors. I got a call back from them by the Friday, which is brilliant. Then, in the process, you have to go down to Lemons once a week, and you have to provide 3 dirty drug tests. So you have to prove that you're an addict to Lemons before they give you help or give you treatment. So from I got the phone call to I got admitted to Hollywell, it would have been about 2 to 3 months, which is amazing. People wait years in beds in Hollywell, but that was because how dangerous and how bad I was doing. Yeah.
But you're saying amazing, but in my head, I'm like 3 months. Like to me, that seems like a long time. But
See, when you're in that situation,
yeah.
and whether it be 3 months or 3, well, I don't think it wouldn't have made it if it was 3 years. But as long as you had something to focus on,
Yeah.
and I'm going to get this help, that's what kept you going, you know. And there's been, like I said, there's been people waiting years to get out of bed. So for me to be able to get one in 3 months, I was so thankful and grateful. But like I said, it was because of what I was doing was so dangerous.
Yeah.
when I first heard the conversation from the doctor, I actually was like, what sort of fucking doctor? And then I'm now thinking about it. The doctor's actually literally just thinking medically to try and help you. But it seems to me what a scenario that we're in. The doctors don't actually have, like, they can't turn around and say, oh, you have an opioid addiction, so now we're going to prescribe you some to keep you right for till we get going. Is there a method of stepping back before you went in? You know, you have 3 months. Could you, like...
No, you can't.
You can't.
can't.
You couldn't even bring it down like a bit.
No.
A bit. Oh.
If you brought it down a bit, you wouldn't get the relief. Like, I was literally... I'm saying I'm taking that amount, and I know that sounds like loads, but that was literally just to get me out of sickness. Not normal, not feeling great, just out
What
of
would
sickness.
happen if you missed it for a bit, for half a day or thing? What would be the physical attributes of it?
I would be grey. I would be sweating buckets. I would be in absolute agony. You wouldn't be able to leave the house because you have bile running from your backside. You're sitting on the toilet with a bucket, being sick, bile as well as shitting bile. You can't move. You can't describe it. You really can't describe it. See, until you're in something like that. See, if someone was sitting across the table from me and I knew nothing about it saying this, it sounds like, sure, it's a bit of sickness. I'd be all right, fuck's sake. But see, when you're in that...
Well, I have to be honest, I was unaware of the actual... That I was like, well, if you didn't get some, you didn't get some. I didn't realise then it became a fucking life or death scenario where you would have had to beg, steal or borrow because you needed to. I maybe it's naivety of my on my behalf that I wasn't aware of that. So then when you went in to Hollywood, what is the procedure?
I forgot to tell you, so the doctors, so while I was waiting to get into Hollywell, the help I got as well, the help I say is they give me 4 naloxone kits. Naloxone reverses the overdose of opioids, reverses an overdose of opioids. They give me 4 of them, and it says to me now that if you go into an overdose, what you're taking, that'll not take you out of an overdose, but you take one every 3 minutes, and that'll allow enough time for the ambulance to get there to get you.
That's fucking hard to listen. The only thing I would say is, as shocking as all this, and I was like, we always run till blame doctors, and we always run to blame things, but
I don't blame anybody.
there must
It was my own doing.
there must be a procedure in place. That must be the standard operating procedure of if somebody's presented themselves with addiction, that we issue X, Y, and Z. I know it sounds like it almost sounds like a finger on the dam. The dam's
No,
about
you get put when you go into Hollywell, because Hollywell mainly only deal with the Carrick one, their detox facilities called, and they deal with everything, but they mainly only deal when you're an inpatient. They only deal with alcohol or opioids, because it's the only two that you can give substitute for, and it's the only two that you can die from. So when you go in, you get admitted, and obviously they're not going to give you fentanyl patches, or they're not going to give you Oxycontin in the hospital. So there's a substitute called methadone or Suboxone, and you can take that, and it tricks your brain, it fills your opioid receptors in your head and tricks your brain into thinking it's going to get a hit, but it doesn't have any components that you can get high from. So they use that to then stabilize you in there, and then once you get off, it takes away cravings, you don't get no withdrawal symptoms, you don't get no cravings, nothing. So you're in a controlled environment, so they can then take you down and off it and get you detoxed.
And how long is that process from you last had your Oxycontin tablet till you're off everything?
Well, when you come out of Hollywell, you need to keep doing it for a while when you're outside of Hollywell.
It's an ongoing.
Yeah.
Okay.
The methadone's an ongoing treatment. They say that you need to be on it for at least a year, because, like I say, you've been in this pattern for so long of doing the same thing for so long. So when you're in Hollywell, you're in a controlled environment. You're in this wee bubble. You have no stressors of life. You're not allowed your phone. You're not allowed to bring in a phone. You're only allowed to call people if they call in, to the office phone. So you don't get any stressors of the life. You're in this wee bubble, confined to yourself. Because Megan is like, not the cause of my PTSD, but because my PTSD happened around the assault around Megan, she wasn't allowed to come visit me in the hospital because she's a really big trigger for me. And I'm a really big trigger for her. So I forgot your question.
No, because it was just the process of taking somebody off that level of addiction is really what.
Oh, yeah. So they say the least you should be on it is for a year, but they advise you stay on it till you deal with your mental health problems or what caused the addiction. Because if you don't fix what caused it, you're going to go straight back to it. And I'm one of the lucky ones. I've got out of Hollywell and I haven't had a relapse. But that's because I was in such a hole that I knew it was life or death. And you could not pay me all the money in the world to go back to the way I was living. I wouldn't do it. Putting myself into that hospital, the best thing I've done for myself. But people get put in like treatment centres like that, and they think that they're going to get put in here and they're going to fix all their problems for them, when that's not the case. They're going to give you the tools, and they're going to let you, highlight the triggers and, what can happen and what might happen. They give you the tools to try and cope, where people go in there expecting everybody to fix everything else for them, when it's you that needs to put in the work. And I was at that stage that I knew that this was it. It's life or death. It's do this or get put in a box.
It really, and any of the people we spoke to addiction, it really sometimes is identifying the trigger, the key issue, the underlying problems. Drugs are coping mechanisms. They're always secondary to what's actually going on.
Yeah.
When you started talking with, obviously you have psychotherapy, when you're there, when you started talking with someone and identifying the things, and you started realising that first relationship was toxic and this had happened and this had all happened, it becomes clear to some people and easier then to manage what is your trigger. because you're starting to work on yourself. But it also sometimes is it's hard because you have to look inward. And that's the hardest thing for anybody in anything. When you start looking at yourself and you see all the flaws you have and the holes you have and you have to work on. How long were you in Hollywell for?
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks. It's not like a rehab. You go for months and months. But that's good, because people go to rehab, they're put into this bubble, like I said. They're put in that for months and months and months. So when they come out of that, it is such a big shock to their system that they can't cope. So that short period of time to give you the time to detox, the time to wrap your head around stuff, then you're back out in society, but still involved with them. You're not wrapped in that bubble for so long, so it's a bit easier to then adjust back to society again and back to normalising things. Like, still to this day, I'm over 2 years out of Hollywell, and still to this day, I have the exact same routine as when I was in Hollywell, as in I get out of bed at the same time as I did in Hollywell. I don't use my bed for anything but sleeping now. I go to bed at the same time every night, dinner at the same time. I just had to stay in that routine, and that's what's kept me so well.
Fair play to you, because obviously the level of addiction, you think, do you still take methadone now, or
Yeah,
you still take it now?
have to, because I still haven't. Yes, I am involved with the addiction and their psychiatrists, addiction services in Ballymena. It is. I'm still involved with them, but they can't do any like psychological stuff for you other than your addiction, so they can't go into my issues with my PTSD and stuff like that. So they advise me to stay on this until you're able to start a headway with your mental health. Because if you do all this too fast, then it's just going to open up the door for relapse.
Is methadone addictive?
No. Well, they say you get withdrawals when you stop it, but it's because you've opioid receptors in your head. So obviously when you take opioids, it fills them receptors, and then you get that hit, that high, and that's what gives you the high. Where with methadone, it fills your receptors, but with nothing that can get you high. So if you experience a bit of withdrawals, it's just the rest of it leaving your system, but it's not withdrawals like withdrawals, proper withdrawals. You would just maybe be a wee bit sweaty. You'll maybe get a craving, because that's all it's for. It just stops cravings and tricks your brain into thinking it's got its hit, but you don't.
And what's next then, Kelly? What's next for you?
I'm waiting on a list. I'm on the waiting list for the psychological services up my way. Like I said to you before, I was already involved in them, but because I wasn't honest with my addiction, it didn't do me no good. So I have to now wait on it. It was an 18-month waiting list, apparently, and I'm still waiting. So once I get into that, I need to get, I think it's CBD, trauma-focused treatment. That's what they said to me before. Whether it's still the case, I don't know. I need to involve them again, but
They're now treating you for the PTSD.
yeah.
Okay. And so you're waiting. How long have you been on the waiting list for that?
Since I got out of Hollywell, over 2 years. So I got out of Hollywell on the 1st of November 2021.
And you haven't heard anything back yet?
No.
Okay.
It's because the resources are so stretched so thin. There's so many people out there needing help, and they're not able to cope. They're not,
The mental health service is so underfunded
Yeah.
in this country. It's ridiculous. But look, it seems to us you're definitely a long way from where you were.
Oh, 100%.
But I think you're being fair to yourself, and I think you have to be when you have to be gentle with yourself when you're recovering from addiction, when you're struggling with trauma.
Yeah.
I always say to people, don't expect too much of yourself, and always be a bit gentle. It'll take time, and I think it's being fair to say you've come a long, long way, and we hope, look, it continues, and you get more help, and Megan gets the help.
I want to start advocating for addiction, mental health, like I really do. One of my big things I want to do is help others, because I've been through that struggle.
Because do you know what, the I didn't know there was as much in opioids, you know, as in the addiction of opioids.
Yeah.
And it's only the likes of yourself coming on and talking about this here to make people aware, to make me aware of the likes of people going and buying prescription drugs.
Yeah.
Look, we live in Cookstown here. That maybe does go on. We just don't see
Oh,
it.
I've been down here buying prescriptions.
We just, so,
Do you know?
yeah,
But the
All over the
But
country.
me and Sean is green, and we're probably blessed to say we're green.
but
And-
even just in that though, what, you want to be an advocate to that. So what message is it that you'd like to say to people that maybe are on them tablets at the minute and they can see themselves wanting more and the craving for, right, I need more of these. And what's the message that you'd like to put across?
Talk to somebody. Get help and talk to somebody before it gets too late. Because there's only one way it goes. There is only one way it goes.
Yeah.
So they just need to... Anybody, you know, some people find it easier to talk to people that they don't know. But just talk to somebody. Anybody. Just tell somebody. Because if you hold that in, that'll eat you up. And in turn, that plays on your addiction and make your addiction a lot worse. Because you're bottling everything up. It's like a pressure cooker. Sometime the pressure needs to get out, and it will get out one way or another. So just get help. Ask for help. Don't be scared.
Well, look, Kelly, I think in time, I think you will be a very good advocate for it. I think just be careful, because with addictions, we replace one thing with another. And if you start helping people, I don't want you to share their woes
Yeah.
to your 100% with your own.
Yeah.
And I think I'm being fair in saying it, because I do think you're going to help a lot of people with this. And I think you should go on advocate, and I think you should set up maybe a wee social media platform. But I think maybe give that a bit of time.
Oh, yeah.
Wait till you know you're working through things, because
That's my end goal. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not saying right now, but
yeah.
that is my end goal.
And brilliant, because the more people genuinely,
There's people, there could be people out there that are addicted to their prescription and they don't even know it.
Yeah.
Megan didn't know
100%
it.
right.
I
Megan
knew
didn't know
people addicted to actually relation, not a close relation, but was addicted to the fizzy tablets.
Yeah,
They are
they're
Cocodamol, are they?
Cocodamol.
Oh,
Cocodamol.
They're a weaker form of the.
And it was only, this was years ago, it was, I'm not getting into it because you might be listening. And I was like, to one of our family members, I was like, I think they're hooked them bad
Yeah.
because nobody needs to be popping them like that.
Yeah.
You know,
People are the amount of people that'll be out there that are addicted to either their own prescription or over the counter like medication is crazy. Like, because I didn't know what to start there. Yeah, I know I started abusing during the abusive relationship, but I didn't know that addiction was there.
I didn't know there was this side hustle business in the scripts.
Oh yeah, big time.
Like this is,
You can get doctors and all. There's people that go over to Benidorm and you pay a doctor. You pay, I can't remember what it was, but you pay him so many euro to his pocket, and then he writes you a prescription of your 80 milligram Oxycontin, 3 boxes, 3 months worth you're allowed to bring home, as long as it has your name on it. You pay for your prescription. He sends you home. There you go.
dodgy bastard.
Makes the money, all the money. Like, it's crazy, the things. And the amount of people that sell their prescription, the majority of them are elder people, older, like old people, because they can't live. Like they need
Yeah.
money for their shopping
Well,
or this, or you know.
Look, it's not from it. It genuinely is not for me to judge in that. Like the one underlying thing people always, and you would have found this, people always sort of like rationalize why they're. I didn't really get involved in that, and I'm not really. It's this prescription.
That was me.
This is medication. Drugs being messed about with is drugs being messed about with, and you know a lot of people's going to say, "Well, that's fucking all well and good for a boy like that to say when he doesn't have that." But what I mean is, the reason they have to be watched is because whether they're prescription or illegal, they can fuck your life, like.
Yeah.
And that is the undeniable fact here, that they could fuck you up, like. So
100%.
I-
Even then, once the physics you can buy over the counter, 100%. I guarantee you now, there's loads of people that's addicted to them that don't even know it. 100%.
Well, look, and the thing is, Sean says it happens everywhere,
It happens
and
everywhere.
we're probably becoming more aware, and listening to things, I guess, does make me and Sean more aware of things. And I want to thank you very much for coming on and sharing what couldn't have been easy with us, but hopefully it'll help somebody. So I want to thank you
Tears
very much.
weren't sad tears, don't worry. You know, I bottled so much up for so long that this expressing myself now in the tears, it's like me letting the emotions out that I held in and was blocking with the tablets for so long. So being able to feel and cry is like me being able to do that and feel that again, it's like a relief to me.
I'm gonna say something I heard last week. We don't apologize when we laugh. We should never apologize when we cry.
Yeah.
As an our emotion, and children display their emotions as easily as they think. It's only us that tell them to stop it. So if you don't apologize for laughing, you don't need to apologize for crying. But thank you very much for coming up.
And thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much, Kelly.
Thank you.